Buenos días a todos, soy Rocío Martín, responsable de la oficina de Extenda en Benelux. Quería dar las gracias a Natasha, que es la jefa de proyecto de nuestra oficina en Benelux, por organizar este interesante webinario sobre las oportunidades que nuestra oficina ha detectado en el sector náutico, de náutica recreativa, en los Países Bajos. También me gustaría dar las gracias, I would say it in Spanish, Jérôme,
No problem.
a Jérôme van den Heuvel, que es el director adjunto de la Asociación de Empresas de Deportes Náuticos y Constructoras. Voy a ceder la palabra a Natasha para que haga una breve introducción y bueno, os comento que el seminario será en inglés y las preguntas las podéis poner en el chat, las iré comentando al final de la ponencia. Muchas gracias a todos.
Muchas gracias por esta introducción, Rocío. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to today's webinar in the thriving marine industry in the Netherlands. It is my great pleasure to introduce to you Mr. Jeroen van den Heuvel, our keynote speaker for this occasion. Mr. van den Heuvel is bringing with him a wealth of experience and knowledge in the world of boating. He is born and raised in an all-round boating company, which has been in his family for generations, and his connection to the maritime world runs deep. Fueled by his upbringing, he embarked on a journey of higher education at the prestigious Maritime and Technical University in Amsterdam. His foundation paved the way for an exciting career at sea as a merchant navy officer, where he honed his skills and gained valuable experience for a remarkable 5 years. Following his adventures on the open waters, he made a conscious decision to transition back to land. It was during this time that Jeroen embraced the role of a loss surveyor in the boating industry, ensuring the safe and efficient operations of the vessels. Recognizing the significance of collective action, he subsequently joined HISWA, now known as HISWA Recron, an organization dedicated to promotion and supporting the boating industry. Today, Mr. van den Heuvel holds the position of Director of the Marine Industry Department within HISWA Recron. In this capacity, he is entrusted with the responsibility of empowering the members by advocating for favorable legislation and providing them with comprehensive support to thrive their businesses. Throughout this webinar, we will explore the diverse facets of the marine industry, delving into the latest trends, challenges, and opportunities that shape this vibrant sector. Together, we will delve into the strategies and resources necessary to navigate the ever-changing landscape of the boating world. I invite you to join us on this educational journey as we dive into the depths of the marine industry and uncover the keys to success for finding shared opportunities between the Netherlands and Andalusia. Ladies and gentlemen, please get ready to embark on an enriching experience that will equip you with the insights and tools needed to propel your business forward. Thank you for your presence, and now let us embark on this exciting webinar together. Jeroen, you have the floor.
Thank you, Natasha, and thank you, Ricardo, for this introduction. It's always nice to hear a little story about yourself. Makes me a little bit disappointed, but nevertheless, thank you for your invitation, and I'm happy to share some knowledge that I have from the Dutch marine industry to the people in Andalusia. I have a presentation prepared, and I will share it on screen in a moment. There it is. So this is me, already enough about that. I'm working at HISWA Recron, and HISWA Recron is a company same like ANEN in your country. We know ANEN very well because we're working together in ICOMIA, our international umbrella organization, and we do more or less the same things. We have the same mission and same goals. We are a network organization for our members, of course, and we are talking to the regulation people here in the Netherlands, so national but also international in Brussels. When our members have a question, they can go to us and ask our knowledge about some things. make a good service to our members with platforms and products who are specific and unique, because if they're not unique, then we don't do it. We only do things that are complementary to the rest of the world. And we have a quality sign, more about that later on. And in the end, we are also try to professionalize our labor market. We think we have to be, our members has to be good companies with good lawyers, good employers, so that the bond between them has to be professional again. So we're working with our members and we're working for our members. And more, I cannot see you on screen, but I think it's more or less the same as ANEN does in your own country. We are merged, as Natasha told, the 1st of 2020, after 80 years of HISWA and 50 years of recreo. Where HISWA stands for the marine industry, recreo stands for the leisure industry, and there's a lot of joint activities, especially for the marinas and the sailing schools. We have 2,500 members, which of one are around 1,000 in the marine industry and 1,500 in the leisure industry, and we service them with 30 professionals here in the office on a full-time basis. We are also part of ICOMIA, as I told, like ANEN, but also like other marine industry associations. ICOMIA is a big umbrella. We're working together on a lot of issues like sustainability, like technical, and so on and so on. And since 1 week, we are a member of EBI. It's the European boating industry, more or less the same as ICOMIA, but ICOMIA is international and European boating industries, of course, only active in Brussels. And we are part of Water Recreatie Nederland, and I come back on that later on. And the difference between ANEN and HISWA is that we have a strong logo. The HISWA brand stands for a long time, for already 80 years in the Netherlands, and we have mandatory terms and conditions so that consumers, they know that there are the terms and conditions, they are agreed with them in the previous, and they are mandatory, and when something went wrong, that we guarantee that the boaters did get their money back. So it's everybody is recognized by HISWA, and we have certified extra for riggers, for yacht surveyors, for yacht service companies. So it's a strong band. Consumers like to do business with HISWA because of the guarantees, and that's also why members like to be a member, besides other things as already told. In my presentation, I come back a little bit about the past, always nice. Of course, the present, and I like to touch the future as well, because I think in the future we have to be the bilaterals between Andalusia and the Netherlands to prepare there. The first boat was a long time ago, but it's nice to hear that the first yacht, and yacht is originally a Dutch word, yacht as we call it here, is around 1600, built for pleasure here in Amsterdam, and later on the first yacht club was there in Rotterdam in 1864. It was for the happy few, of course, but that's, I think, the same in Spain, so never to mention that. The first boat show here, the HISWA boat show, was in 1932. It has been there for 80 years. It stopped 2 years ago, just at the beginning of the COVID period. But we had a long time for our HISWA on land, and the HISWA in water boat show still goes on every year at the end of the boating season. Of course, same like in Spain, the high volume came up at the 60s and 70s, the free Saturday, the car sales up, well, everything you know. But also in the 1962, we had already a boat show, HISWA, and a leisure show joined in one show at the same time. And I have some slides about that. We started with export programs in the early 70s, and that was because we knew that the Dutch market is more to explore than only the Dutch boat builders can explore more than only the Dutch market. So here we are, what's paradise for everyone, especially during COVID, when everybody likes to have a boat. Now, unfortunately, it is in Dutch, but I thought it was nice to have a glimpse of the past. When we talk about innovative people, they are innovative at that time already. So the present, I'm making the picture of Google Maps, of course, you know, but it's nice to compare the two countries or the two regions. And the Netherlands, well, we are a country with a king and all that kind of things, but we are a bit smaller than Andalusia as itself is. In the Netherlands, we have 17 million people. Andalusia is 8 or 9 million, I understood. So we are really crowded here in the Netherlands, based on a small country only. And that makes Hiswa a land of water. Of course, we are struggling water. You can see in the top edge, but we like to be on the water as well, just for pleasure. we are only a small country, and everybody here likes to be involved with the water. And we are only a small country, but anyhow, we have still 10,000 kilometers of inland waterways, which half of them are navigational by bigger boats. We have 3.2 million boaters out of the 17 or 18 million we have in total, and we have 1,100 marinas. Which 1,100 marinas, every 5 kilometers on average, you can find on the waterways, you can find a marina. So it's well equipped over there. We have 500,000 pleasure crafts serviced by 4,000 companies, more or less. And they are served with 20,000 employees. And we have a big market, especially a big share on the super yachts market. With our 10 or 12 yards, we build quite a lot of super yachts, and they are all one-offs. We don't make the big volume, but we are all making one-offs. In that network, we try to help the boaters to develop the water. So that's where we divided our waters into bigger and smaller waters, so that they can set out their boats. And on the other hand, with the regulations, and when you have to build the bridge or when you have to build a dock, then you know what kind of boats are in a special area, so that they can make the right volume of the lock or the right height of the bridge. So that's how it works on this small areas, just to make it open for everybody and to make it useful for everybody. Talking about recreational crafts in the Netherlands, I think I said the total is about 500,000. We don't have boat registration, so we're not sure, but it's an amount of boats that everybody can recognize. But when it's 450,000 or 550,000, okay, could be. We don't have boat registration yet. It's in progress, and maybe it's coming, but to be honest, we're asking for that for 25 years already. Anyhow, based on surveys, several surveys during the past, we did this kind of breakdown. The most of them are cabin sailboats. The most of them are cabin motorboats, but we have also a lot of open motorboats, day sailors and motorboats. Day motorboats, we call it sloops here in the Netherlands, and we produce quite a lot of them. And we know that they are not for export. They only used here in the Netherlands, more or less. But we have them a lot of, so you can take your day trip here in the Netherlands. So the amount of numbers, please be careful with that, but it's more or less the breakdown we knew. Some typical pictures about Dutch boats. The length of cabin sailing yachts on average is only 9.5 meters, with a breakdown above the picture. The average length of a motorboat is 9.9 meters, so it's almost around 10. With the breakdown on that, you see a lot of them are around 8 to 10 meters, and the average boat of open motorboats is 6.2 meters, and that's mainly the sloops, the open sloops, as I mentioned before. And we have a lot of them, and they're all in the water. Most of the boats are just laying in the water for the whole year. We have some dry stacking areas, and we have some areas where people like to trailer their boats, but most of them are just in the water during the boating season. Some trends, we see that the amount of sailing boats is going down, and they are replaced by motorboats. It's maybe because of a lot of all elder sailing people are going over to motorboats, but also because of the popularity of the open sloops. So we see a lot of motorboats coming up. We see a lot of open boats coming up, and they're all easy to use. All difficult things you have to do in the past, like checking this and checking that, we see it replaced by easy-to-use boats. There's a lot of comfort, and we see that the boats are maintained by the service companies. So the do-it-yourself market is going down, and the servicing companies are going up. And of course, the Dutch fleet is also in transition. We see a lot of boats are shared with more than one owner, or we see a lot of boats they're just for rent. The amount of rented boats is going up, and we see that having a boat just by your own, use it every weekend is going down. So that's a trend we see. We see, of course, the electric propulsion. Very famous is the case in Amsterdam, where electric propulsion is mandatory from 2025 already. You're not allowed to use your combustion engines in the canals in Amsterdam, and we think that after 2025, other companies will copy this legislation. So electric propulsion is quite popular, and we are also sharing that kind of knowledge to our members. And the last thing is we see that there's more and more active boating coming up. Also, when you have a motorboat, besides a motorboat, there is a small dinghy you can sail with it, or there is a small personal watercraft, or all that kind of active boating around about the easygoing motorboats or the easygoing sailboats. So that are the trends we see in the Netherlands for some years, and we think that COVID was some kind of a facilitator to make it extra strong, this kind of transitions. Coming to our work, of course, we see that the total revenues about boating, about the marine industry in the Netherlands will be about 10.5 billion euros. It's direct. It's what our members and non-members are producing. It's their turnover on the water sport industry. It's 10.5 billion euros without the superyacht industry. So it's only the boats up to 30 meters, more or less. And it has a big effect outside the sector, of course. It's a multiplier. So that's why also we are producing boats, but we're not producing boats. We produce free time on the water, of course. It has a social value. We see that a lot of people are using the boat just for having fun, going to other cities, explore their other cities, but also finding time to relax with their family, or well, maybe by their own, doing nothing or doing not too much, instead of the busy rush they have during the week. We see more and more cities developing their harbors, their city harbors, but also on the coastal side. And I was talking to Natasha before about Barcelona, where Barcelona has turned their back to the seaside, and now they are facing the seaside, having a big marina, and try to attract boaters to come to Barcelona. And we see the same in the Netherlands. A lot of cities are turning their back to the water, and they ask their boaters to come there, to come there to the restaurants, to come there to the marinas, to come there to do the shopping. Well, and that brings value to the real estate. It brings value to the companies over there, and it brings value to the quality of life in this environment. Connecting with nature, as I told already, it's very nice to see that the angling activities is just as popular as walking and biking. When you see the total list, of course, football is on top, and we're not always that good in it, but football is on top. And after football and tennis, then the angling sport is the third biggest sport in the Netherlands. So that's something unknown, but most of the angling people has about 75,000 of them. So it's a big industry, and it's a big industry for the marine industry as well. For every lifestyle and for every budget, there is a boat to find, whether you buy it or you rent it or you share it with your family. When you go for sport, like rowing, when you go for sport, like you're using your PWC. It doesn't matter. For every kind of people, there is a kind of boat. And then you ask, how extreme will it be? Of course, living on the water has some dangers, of course, but it also can be very, very realistic and very nice. And we have to live with our water, so we fight it, but we love it to make your recreational and your pressure crafts over there. So we are here to building a bilateral relationship between Andalusia and the Netherlands. So we think that we have to look to the future. The future of boating is quite positive. The future of boating has to be targeted on trends, on innovation, on developments, on facilitating the trends, and to speed them up so that we can earn some money with it, to be honest. Yeah, we're living with the water, but we're living also on the water, and we're living at the water. So examples of marinas and some examples of cities where you can see the water is going into the city and not with the back of the city. This is typical Dutch as we build it now, and it was 30 years ago, it was not possible and nobody wants to live there. And now they're asking a lot of money for buying this kind of houses. This is their own private spot for their boat. Of course, we have the emergency transition, which brings a lot of problems, but also a lot of opportunities for our industry. As you are aware, because in Spain it's not different, I think. Boating communities, we see a lot of this kind of boats, and they only use for short periods of sailing, but more being on the boat and doing your relaxing thing, or sailing on a sporty way. It's very luxury water villas, and they are like this. And we are the boaters, because at the early tide they were gray, and nowadays we have this kind of boaters. So we have to facilitate them, we have to attract them to the water, and not only as a service or a background, but like this in the Netherlands. Reusing. And then at the end, disconnect. So this was my story, my speech, and if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer them if I know. Otherwise, I come back on it. But I like to give the floor back to Natasha.
Thank you so very much for this wonderful presentation. It really gives a complete image of what the Dutch do. They have always been on the water. Other countries came to see how the Dutch would build the boats, and you're still building boats. But I learned from you that parts of the components were bought in Asia and other countries of lower costs. And one of the things you told me is that the Netherlands is reshaping this supply chain and is coming back to Europe. So I think that there might be opportunities to find connections towards Spain for you in concrete for the Andalusian community of industry and boat builders. So there might be a possibility to build bridges towards the future.
Exactly. I think there was already a trend that buying things on the cheap market and then relying on the supply chain was a good thing for years. But we knew before COVID that the cost of developing that kind of supply chains is very high. And then COVID-19 came in, and then we have the big trouble in the Suez Canal. Is the one who was, was over there and blocked the whole system. And that gives more thoughts about buying things not that far away, but more in Europe. So made in Europe is more and more a thing here in the Netherlands. And we are not building a big amount of boats. We're building, I think, around 2,000. We don't have boat registration, so we don't know exactly. But we are building more or less 1,000 open sloops and 1,000 other vessels, motorboats mainly, but also some sailing boats, bigger sailing boats. And this made in Europe is quite something positive to the consumers they are buying about. So that's true. We are looking more and more into Europe and less into Asia.
Okay. And another question that I had, I don't know, since statistics is always a difficult issue, but do you have knowledge of people who take their boat to go on holiday and sail around Europe and might go towards the Spanish coast and end up, for instance, to see Malaga and would need services over there by companies who are installed on the Andalusian coast? As you might know, Andalusia has a coastline of about 1,600 kilometers, and half of it is beaches. Yeah. So there is quite a lot of space for the people to discover those coastlines by boat.
Yeah. When I turned around, I think in your marinas in Andalusia you can find some Dutch people. It's when there's for the luxury people, the people who have earned their money, they like to be sailing around in the Mediterranean, so also into Andalusia, and there they do their things. I think they rely on the services as they are offered nowadays, and they don't attract, seek any typical Dutch services, but just services as they are there. I'm not sure whether this is a trend who's going to develop more and more. I don't know. I think in the total amount, it's only margin business. The amount of Dutch people on the boat in the Mediterranean is not that big as, for example, the British or the French or the Spanish people self.
Okay. But we're just like the Dutch, we're just a small amount of people around the world.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if anybody else have any questions. Please raise your hand, send a message to Rosia. We will be happy to give you the floor, opening the micros. If not, you can always contact us afterwards by mail, either to Rosia or to myself, and we will be happy to connect you with Jeroen for any further information you might have. If there are no questions.
Si no tenéis, si tenéis alguna duda, la podemos hacer o en el chat, os puedo ceder el micro. Es por si queréis conocer, que os doy también la pantalla. No sé, si no, bueno, pues ya más adelante os damos los datos y podéis organizar una reunión privada con Jeroen. Bueno, pues parece que no hay preguntas. Thank you very much, Jeroen. It was very interesting presentation. Hope we can start business with your Dutch companies, and as well to build a relationship with your association. And thank you everybody for participating at this webinar, and thank you to the Extenda office in Benelux, to Natasha, Enrique, and Patricia. And well, we look forward to see you soon in Andalusia.
Okay, we have the question from Ana Morales asking to have a direct contact with Jeroen. We will manage that after closing the webinar. If you can contact Rosia, you will contact Ana Morales.
Sí, Ana, pásame los datos si quieres y intentamos organizar una reunión con Jeroen para que se conozcan las dos empresas, la asociación y la empresa.
Jeroen, there's somebody who's asking to have a direct contact with you.
That's
It's
okay.
Ana Morales, and we will exchange your contact details, and then we take it you over from there. Right.
Yeah, it's no problem. I'm happy to share some knowledge we have. And I'm always at present at the METS trade show in Amsterdam. Unfortunately, it's in the winter time, so you see the beautiful pictures about the Netherlands in the summertime, but in the wintertime you can expect snow and all that kind of rain and all that kind of things. But I'm there, so if you intend to build a relationship on company to company based, then well, I think the METS trade show is a good opportunity to make contact. And I'm there, so happy to share and to help you around over there.
Okay, fantastic. I extend that invitation to all of the people who are listening today. And then arrived at this point, I would really thank you very much for the preparation, for the wonderful presentation. Thank you, Rocio, for making this all possible. And most of all, most important, thanking all the people who are present today, and wishing you a very wonderful day, either in Andalusia, in the Netherlands, and in Belgium.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you to everybody. Bye.
Bye, Lucio.
Bye-bye. Rocío, gracias.